Gary Waterman, a former UK police constable with irrefutable evidence of decades-long international government fraud. Welcome to part 3 of my evidential research document in relation to the helicopter crash in the United States on the 10th of April this year, where supposedly a CEO of Siemens passed away. We were looking at the connections to Owen Film Partnership that had already linked on the Satanic Temple United Kingdom evidential documents, and please verify and corroborate all of this information. Don't take my word for it. You can do that by looking at the Companies House registration system and searching and following the evidential links that I'm presenting to you. We looked at a company in the last video of Bristol and London accident. And then within the Treasure Company, Treasure Island Kids Company, we have Stephen Andrews, and they link to Chambers Independent. There's fraud throughout there, liquidizing. And then on the right here, back within the Treasure Island Kids Company, which links to the Virgin Foundation, we have Nicholas Haig, and he links to, if it loads up, Royal Ocean Racing Club. That's already featured several times in the fraud, and now we have a royal connection coming in from the research surrounding my wife's employee. Remember, that's where we're coming in from in relation to this. On the right there, back into the Treasure Island Kids Company, we have Stuart Jackson, born in 1973, 2 years after the World Economic Forum started. And they're linked to Smart Meter Map. So remember the threat of directed energy to control people, and how this is now tying in with a potential doomsday scenario involving the Hadron Colliders. And I've got a whole document coming in relation to that. On the right, the same director links to Octopus Energy. Now, this is mind-blowing because this was my energy supplier for Exball Manor Freehold Limited, and I raised a complaint and have refused to pay any energy bills since because they're linked to international fraud. Here's Octopus Energy Services Limited on the left. They were incorporated in 2016, the same year that TikTok started, which I suspect was being used as a symbol to the end of time and their apocalyptic or doomsday scenario. And again, lots of evidence coming forward in relation to that soon. And you can see at the bottom there, they changed their company name in June 2019, the same year as the outbreak in Wuhan. And on their incorporation document, companies made simple. So a completely fraudulent criminal company, because Wesco nominees, which links to companies made simple, they've removed the company document. So it's linked to the international fraud, and that is linked to the World Trade Center disaster and linking into international child trafficking. On the right, back into the Treasure Island Kids Company and Henry Knipe, probably pronouncing that wrong, links to Capita Company, Capita Employee Benefits Consulting Limited. They dissolved, as I'm exposing the fraud, on the 11th of December 2024. That address also features throughout the fraud. And you can see here their name changes, some of them fairly relevant. So you can see the bottom of the red box there, 16th of July 2001, changed its name. A few days before Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building, changed their name again on the 31st of December 2009, the same year that the very important Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation Company was created. And then they changed it again, you can see there, in October 2012, the same year as supposedly the Higgs boson particle was found. And then they haven't changed their name since. So what is Capita? Well, I've researched it before because it's actually come up on other research documents that I've done in relation to different angles of the fraud. Capita PLC is an international business process outsourcing and professional service company headquartered in London. It's the largest business process outsourcing and professional services company in the United Kingdom, with an overall market of 29% in 2016. Established in 1984 and gaining its independence in 1987, management buyout Capita early business activities were largely orchestrated by Rod Aldridge and company's first executive chairman since 1991. I suspect this relates to Leicester Aldridge Company that had an office in Bournemouth, which links into a lot of the fraud surrounding Export Manor Freehold Limited. But he was the company's first executive chairman since 1991. Well, 1991 is important because it's when the Gulf War ended, and 1992, the year after, is when they started to initiate the electronic register for Companies House. And remember, they're forging the electronic register and the incorporation documents to create these legal entities. And it's been listed on the London Stock Exchange. Well, that's also part of the fraud. Various British government bodies have contracted services out to Capita, including the Ministry of Defence, obviously massively involved in this, Department for Business, Innovation and Skills, Department for Work and Pensions, and numerous NHS trusts. Well, they're all involved in this. All government organisations are massively wrapped up in this international government fraud, and they're all based around it. The whole legal system has been set up around it. The police to defraud and exploit and victimise humanity. And of course, Deborah Fleming was the NHS chief executive, and we have a link there to the NHS. So let's have a quick look at Capita PLC that comes up here. And it changed its name, you can see, 1988, and then also January 2012, year of the Higgs boson. And on the document, look how much they rub it in our face, because I doubt very much that's a real name, John Fake. And that company, Alpha Searches, links to the fraud significantly. So we've also got Capita's D1 Limited. That's interesting. Of One More London Place, dissolved in October 2022, the same year that I'm starting to really make the inquiries. Now, I don't know if anyone's seen my other evidence, but it blew me away when I found evidence suggesting that human remains may be being put into the food chain. This was also around the 2013 horse meat scandal, sorry. And when you research the companies where that was found, it links into the same international child trafficking companies. Well, that prompted me to research the film Soylent Green, because I'd seen it when I was younger, and that was about a dystopian scenario with corporations that are putting potentially human meat into the food chain. And I researched it and didn't realise it was set in 2022, the same year that I was starting to inquire in Export Manor Freehold Limited. And it was about an innocent cop who establishes the evidence in relation to international corporation. Not only that, but that movie was based loosely on a book from 1966, which is the year of the Church of Satan. Okay, that was when that was founded. And the book is based on the year 1999, which is the year of the re-establishment of the Church of Satan after its original founder died in 1997, 2 years earlier. And that's the same year that Princess Diana died. And it was, in fact, less than 2 months between those deaths. And Mohammed Al-Fayed and Dodi Al-Fayed are linked to the international fraud via Harrods almost immediately to Export Manor Freehold Limited by a name called Mavis June Latter, on the incorporation documents, which link it almost immediately. So this company, you can see it changed its name a few times. So it had Sims Education Services. Interesting. Anyone heard of the Sims Sims computer game? Where you're running a family's life in a sim. Okay. I don't actually believe we're a simulator, personally. A lot of people do. But I think we're heading towards that through the technology and the transhumanism. This is what they want, so they control us. Personally, I don't think we're in a simulator now, but I think the risks are very high that will happen. So this was called Sims Education Services from 1990, the same year as the start of the Gulf War. Changed its name in 1998, 3 years before the World Trade Center, to Capital Education Services Limited. Changed it again in 2008, and then changed it again in January 2012, the year of the God particle, supposedly. On the incorporation document, Sundar Mansakhani. The exact same name that features significantly in the fraud, links to the NHS, and links to the international child trafficking and the fraud massively. And just to show, on the Satanic Temple, research coming in from the Satanic Temple, United Kingdom, okay, which dissolved at a key time. You have Centrica already on there that we've just been looking at. And also, have I got it on here? The name Sundar Mansakhani, exactly the same name, linking to Office Team 2 Group Limited Company. Remember, there's fraud throughout, and we've got the same names, not just the same companies, everybody. Don't know if someone saw them. Mark Atwood arranged this police officer to come in. He tried undermining my evidence and saying, you've got incorporation companies. We're talking about the same name now, though, everybody, and the same addresses. All right, it's all linked. Centralized criminal fraud. It's all been centralized. Okay, everyone needs to understand. Literally, all supermarkets are all centralized. All the solicitors are all centralized to a small group of criminals. Literally, now running the world. On the left, back in within the Treasure Island Company, Richard Mancy links to Polton's Properties Limited. Polton's, anyone that's followed my evidence will know that surname, maybe, Polton. And you can see they're based in Hampshire, in Romsey. And Sarah Mancy links to King Edward School. Okay, remember, it's linked to the royal family hugely, everybody. Okay, and here we've got a King Edward School, also based in Southampton. And notice actually underneath here, I haven't focused on it, Eclipse Film Partners. That also features throughout the fraud and links very closely, normally, to Invicta Film Partnership or the company Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP, which is actually one of the companies on the incorporation document for the foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which is incredibly important. So on the incorporation document for the King Edward School, we have Vielvaspera, a German-sounding company name. Well, that links in from the research of the specific child trafficking evidence that I looked at in relation to the apparent mass murder of children on the Isle of Jersey on Hope de la Grande. Also on the incorporation document here, notice there's someone in Hampshire. Oh, if it loads up. Notice how some of it is typed and some of it is handwritten. That suggests it's been altered and forged. I would hazard, that's my opinion, I would hazard a guess with all of this forgery. So you've got the address in Hampshire and the company names, which I found interesting because they have Southampton Cargo Handling PLC. Now, children will be, if this is really going on with the child trafficking, and there's overwhelming evidence to suggest it is, but we're going to come into a bit more information surrounding that when I talk about the Hadron Collider. So they'll be moving children around in shipping containers on boats, etc. And Southampton appears to be a key location in relation to this. And here you have Southampton Cargo Handling PLC, and that company has featured on another document. You have a broadcasting company, charitable trust, which links in with the Freemasons. False charitable front, everybody, drawing people in. On the left, the same director links to Polton's Park Limited, which is a little theme park in Dorset. And on the right, same director links to the British Association of Leisure Parks, Piers and Attractions Limited. Exactly the same company that features on my research surrounding the potential murders of the real heirs to the throne and the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where a meeting took place with Walt Disney leading to those potential murders. Now the initial evidence is suggesting it ties in with the Cray twins, and my dad's adoptive family used to associate with the Cray twins. It's no coincidence, everybody. I've been positioned. There's more evidence I need to acquire, but obviously I'm trying to focus on the most important stuff. And of course, if we're talking about a potential doomsday scenario, then I need to really focus on averting that. And we're talking about the surname of Poulton. Could this be why Sonia Poulton is desperately trying to undermine my evidence and then collaborating with Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited behind my back, who have then been collaborating with somebody linking to the blood taken from tortured children under an alias name and the threat of directed energy, and linked to the vaccines and the military? Back in with the Treasure Islands Kids Company. Remember, we're very close. This all come in from the research surrounding my wife's employee, Charles Sherwin, okay, who's a dentist in Sherborne. On the right-hand side, they're linked to the Virgin Active Health Clubs. Remember, we've already been talking about Virgin companies coming in from the school as well. And don't forget, Richard Branson has been named, according to the research, on the court papers surrounding child trafficking in Ghislaine Maxwell. And he had an island right near Jeffrey Epstein. Treasure Island Company on the left, Julian Newis, links to, we've just mentioned it, Ingenious Film Partners 2 LLP. The very same company that is on the Prince and Princess of Wales Foundation Company that started in 2009. Go and look at page 40 of 40 of the incorporation document. You will see that company. You will also see the Hackluit International Advisory Company, which is now dissolved since I've exposed it. That links to the Russian government as well in relation to this. They're all working on this together, everybody. What we're seeing is a mass deception. Do not believe anything now that you're seeing on the mainstream media. You can't. They're all neck deep in this, everybody. Neck deep. And the death of the Pope and the resignation of Klaus Schwab today, all on the, yesterday actually now, both on the same day, both at the age of 88 years old, is staged. It's all part of their next plan. All staged. And they need to stop this. And there's going to be something that I'm going to be talking about in relation to all of this when we do the other evidence. So this director is linked to seismic events. I haven't got the evidence, but when you go into that, it links to Olympic Games companies and football companies, again, which then ties in with the rapid response teams and makes the link back to my dad's adoptive family, which then makes the connection to the Crays. It's all very quickly linked. But they're also connected. The same director we're looking at, Neuro Agency Limited. Remember, I believe they were hoping to control humanity. In fact, what I would believe they were doing, we're going to try and bring suffering and control at the same time to humanity, to enslave them, and then the end goal being a potential doomsday apocalyptic scenario using the Hadron Colliders. And we're going to, like I've said, we're going to cover that later. But also the link to at the bottom there, Use Your Noggin Limited. Now, the way things work out, it's incredible because I'd already got this evidence. I then found these things, videos popping up talking about the noggin device, which there's some bits here that you put on your forehead and it turns you into going into like a game world, a virtual reality, if you like. So the evidence that I'd done or found in relation to that came in from Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the leader of Iran. So what we're seeing is an international collaborative deception against humanity with this threat of nuclear war and all this. It's all deception. They're working together. And I think it's all a collaborative effort in relation to the other stuff. So including the cell towers and including the Hadron Collider. And sorry, I know I keep mentioning it, but I'm going to have to do a whole nother document on it. But we do touch on it in a bit more detail in a minute. Now, this came in just showing the Noggin Limited company we came across. So the research from Benjamin Netanyahu and the leader of Iran and Trump led to a company called Dun and Bradstreet Properties Limited. Well, they're involved in over 500 million registered companies in America. And then that led through to evidence of potential controlling human conscience within a virtual reality system. And of course, we've got Elon Musk Neuralink, haven't we, which is a chip in the brain. So we're led to believe, well, I think that's all going to tie in with this sort of stuff. But they're claiming this is a gimmick and not real. But I think they're trying to either make us believe it's going to happen, or they're actually going to try and integrate this mind control. Because the research through this then tied in with Black Mirror and Charlie Brooker, who was born in 1971, and links into the fraud again. Anyway, we're going off a little bit here. So let's have a look. So back into the Treasure Company. Okay, Treasure Island Kids Company here. And they link to Atlas Topco Limited. Now, I was being led to believe that Atlas links into the threat of nuclear weapons. But here's Atlas Bidco Limited. Now, we're looking in Atlas Topco now, that exact same company. Look where they've tried to hide the evidence, but they've left it there for the right person, okay, which is a theory we need to talk about. So Atlas Topco, on the significant persons of control, so you click on the people tab, to the right of it, there's another little tab, click that, you have CFN Apex Bidco Limited. And they were notified of their involvement and their control on the 7th of November 2024, as I'm exposing the fraud. So let's have a look at that company and follow the trail of evidence. So here's that company, CFN Apex Bidco Limited. And that was incorporated in October 2024. And on their significant companies of control within the people record, tab to the next to it, CFN Apex Topco. Let's have a look at that company. Here it is. Active company, also started in October 2024, the same day. So you can see it appears they're trying to hide the real links in all of this, and we're going to get to it. And on their one, you have significant company of control. So people, tab to the right, City Fleet Networks Limited. Is City Fleet Network Limited, based in Aberdeen, Scotland. Remember, this is important because Edinburgh and Scotland is very important. Edinburgh is where the oldest Freemason lodge is based, that's still active, okay? And look when this company was incorporated, on the 17th of July 2001, a few days before Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center disaster. So remember, we're coming for the World Trade Center building. So remember, we're coming in from those Atlas companies. We're going to have a look at why that's so important. But first of all, within this City Fleet company, okay, the last one we've gone into, we can see a company of 118 Randolph Avenue Limited. Oh, let's zoom out a bit. Here's that company's overview. Look at the address. Linton House, 7 to 12 Tavistock Square, London. On the incorporation document, a name that features in the fraud, and I suspect it's a false name because they've got tens of thousands of companies, if not hundreds, Howard Thomas of City Road address on the incorporation document. But the address matches CAPB Limited. Here's CAPB Limited, Tavistock House, South Tavistock Square, London. Go back up. Linton House, so they've got a different name, but it's Tavistock Square, London. Now, this is where the bombings happened outside, supposedly on the buses in 2005 in Tavistock Square. That's all linking into this. When you research those bombings, it goes back to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. I haven't had chance to show it yet, and it also links into the World Trade Center disaster. Now, that's the very important company, CAPB Limited, because It was started in 1932, dissolved in 2016 when TikTok was created, okay, around in the same year. And on the overview, you can see they changed their company names if it loads up on the 23rd of July 2001, the day before, okay, Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center disaster. They then changed their name on that day to CA Premier Banking Limited. Well, that is Cater Allen. It's the offshore part of for private banking for Abbey National and Santander. Okay, and Cater Allen is a criminal organization. So that, and then of course Larry Silverstein purchased the lease in July 2001, and then the building collapsed in September 2001. On the right, within the Randolph Company, Jason Brader links to that company, that address, which links to Vistra, which Vistra Limited is Jordan's and Sons. It's the same company. If you go and look at Vistra Limited, you'll see its previous names as Jordan's Limited and then Jordan's and Sons Limited. It was set up in 1965, the year before the Church of Satan, okay, was founded in 1966. And it's a criminal company because when you look at the incorporation document, it has Hammerplag Limited on it. It's never been registered. So here we have South Atlantic nominees linking in from that director. And that address, again, features throughout the fraud. And on the right, going into it, that address features throughout the fraud. 50 Broadway links into police organisations. And then you hit, within the director, Vistra companies. Here you can see Vistra, various Vistra companies. Bristol, one. And then I found this interesting, and I have come across this once before. We're talking about Doomsday. This is Domesday. Dear, oh dear. On the right, Playboy TV UK Limited then. That's featured at least once before. And they dissolved on 24th of December 2024, even though they were incorporated in 1989. So as I'm exposing the fraud, they're dissolving all of these companies. And of course, that makes a link to the sex trade. And of course, we're talking about international child trafficking. Now, I don't know if it's true. I've heard rumours that there's tunnels going from the Playboy mansion to various locations as part of all of this. So that was coming in from those Atlas companies, all right? Now, why is this so important? Well, Atlas ties in with the Hadron Colliders. But I was being led it was to do with nuclear weapons. But here you have Atlas as one of two general-purpose detectors in the Large Hadron Collider. This is to do with CERN. Atlas is the largest general-purpose particle director experiment at the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. Okay, remember, this is where the World Economic Forum is based, who are the centralised criminal individuals. Of course, there'll be people running it above that aren't in the public eye. Remember, the head of the World Economic Forum has just stepped down yesterday. Okay, now I heard and I had information, there were articles that he claimed he was going to step down 3 days after I sent my evidence to the World Economic Forum. This was in 2024, even though he'd been the chair of that organisation since 1971, 100 years before the letter was written by Albert Pike to Mazzini, the head of the Illuminati, setting out the 3 world wars. And you can see they timed, after the Second World War, they timed the Third World War with the release of this evidence in relation to the fraud. That is why when I became involved in exposing it, all of these falsified biblical events started as part of the deception against humanity. You had the attack, various things, but you had the attack, which is a big one, on the 7th of October 2023. And we actually come to that, make references to that later in this document. So Atlas was a big part of it. And you can see here the experiment is designed to take advantage of the unprecedented energy available at the Large Hadron Collider and observe phenomena that involve highly massive particles which were not observable using earlier low energy accelerators. Atlas was one of the 2 LHC experiments involved in the discovery of the Higgs boson in July 2012, which is also called the God particle. It was also designed to search for evidence of theories of particle physics beyond the standard model. The Atlas collaboration, the international group of physicists belonging to different universities and research centres who built and run the detector was formed in 1992. Well, this is when they started to initiate the digital side of Companies House, okay? That's when they started to initiate it. And, of course, you had the Gulf War in 1990 and 1991 ending, which, of course, will be very relevant and all to do with this. International collaborative deception, everybody. And this, I found this interesting at the bottom here. It says at present, the Atlas collaboration involves 6,003 members, out of which nearly 4,000 are physicists. That's a lot of people. This was a figure in June 2022. They haven't put any other dates. That's interesting, isn't it? Why have they not publicised more recent figures? This is the same year that I've started exposing everything. In fact, this is a month, less than a month, a few days, in fact, before I approach Anthony Roberts to view the bank documents for Export Manor Freehold Limited. And at the bottom here, just to let you know, again, it was founded, this is CERN we're talking about, and linking it to Astra, in 1954. The same year that the silent weapons was declared, a silent war was declared against humanity, which was planned from, is it Harvard? Can't remember the university. Back in 1948, which is the year of the Israel-Arab War. It all ties in, okay, which stemmed from 1917 and the Balfour Declaration involving the Rothschilds, okay. 1948 is also when the Association of Chief Constables was started, all set up deliberately as part of this. The police force was all put up around the UK with chief constables as part of this international collaborative deception. 1953 was the coronation of the Queen. 1953 was also when the MK Ultra program started, according to the research. And you can see underneath here, the CEO of Atlas and the CEO of CERN now is Fabiola Gianotti, Italian. Okay, very interesting research that's we're going to show in relation to her. Italian, very likely making the link to the Vatican. Okay, underneath the subsidiary, Craigmore Dairy 2 LLP. We'll just show this actually quickly because this is important. So when you search Craigmore Dairy LLP, it comes up with Craigmore Research Limited. Oh, recognise the address? Tavistock House, South Tavistock Square, London. Going to another bit of research for Craigmore, same address, Tavistock House, Tavistock South Tavistock Square, London. Same address, Tavistock House, South Tavistock Square, London. CAPB Limited. Linking to the Flemings, who removed me for refusing to file forged bank documents. Also, just a quick bit of evidence now. I know we've gone well over half an hour now. But when you research Julian Assange, you very quickly, under his real name, okay, Julian Hawkins, supposedly, you hit ISIS companies. Recognise the address? ISIS Business Solutions Limited. Tavistock Square. Exactly the same. Griffins. Dissolved 2023. As I'm exposing the fraud, ISIS is a Egyptian goddess. ISIS was also the name given to the Islamic State group. ISIS is also the name linked to the UK's version of the Hadron Collider. Come back for the next part. Oh, screen's gone the other way. I'll get it back. There you go. Come back. Thanks a lot. Bye.